The list of presidential hopefuls vying for the White House is getting smaller, and as more candidates end their run, some online are asking what happens to all those campaign funds after a candidate drops out. Liza Lucas verifies.
It's a pricey venture to run for president. The 2016 presidential race reportedly costs more than $2.3 billion. So if you donate to a presidential campaign and the candidate drops out, what happens to the money? According to the Federal Election Commission, there are rules governing leftover campaign funds once a candidate is no longer running for president. What's not allowed? Using campaign funds for personal use. But Brendan Quinn with the nonprofit Center for Responsive Politics breaks down ways the cash can be used.
They can transfer it to another federal committee. So candidates this election cycle who have since dropped out of the presidential race, people like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, who are still in the Senate, they can transfer that money back into their Senate campaigns. A lot of people can choose to donate money to charity. You can also transfer unlimited funds to state and national parties. So candidates that drop out of the Democratic race who want to help the eventual nominee might want to transfer their money to the DNC.
In some cases, there's a chance donors could get a refund. An FEC spokesperson says if a primary candidate drops out and won't be running in the general election, donations designated for the general election must be refunded within 60 days. But the committee may ask if they can keep the money for a future race. So where does the leftover money go? We verified there are lots of ways campaign funds can be spent within federal guidelines. If you have something for us to verify, send us your ideas via Facebook, Twitter, or via email at verify11alive.com.